Hey everybody, welcome to Spill the Novelty, where three girlies shout to the void about our latest book hot takes and obsessions. I'm Abby,
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kaylee.
and this week we're spilling the tea on Kaylee's favorite YA book, Shatter Me by Tahari Mafi, to continue our YA book trend. So if you love the Shatter Me series, or if you're curious about what all the hype was about a decade ago, here's the tea.
All right, so jumping right in with Juliet. So Juliet is the main character, and she is 17 years old. She is currently, at the start of the book, imprisoned, and she has been for over 2 years, I think, because she has this like magical power that whenever she touches people or other people touch her, they either like get seriously injured or they die. She's the narrator of this book mainly through her messy thoughts and like strike through text as if she's like writing in a journal. So personally, I don't mind Juliet. Like, I'm neutral. I don't dislike her and I really don't like her all that much. I think when I like initially read these books at 15, I loved Juliet and I like related to her a lot, but now she just seems a little bit too moral for me, like maybe a little self-righteous and moral, and I don't know. But I remember this changes throughout the series, so maybe it's intentional, but like I just wasn't reading it as an adult. I just wasn't into it, I guess.
Yeah, she is very much going back and reading this now. And I was also a huge fan back when I initially read it when I was like 15 or so. But I think she is definitely a YA girl through and through. I I think I would have eaten up, or probably did, just straight up did eat up the kind of deep quotes in her journal and obsessions over tattooed men and the trauma, the effortlessly hot, but she doesn't even know it type thing. So yeah, she was great for a YA girl. I totally get why I was into it. And yeah, she's not my fave now, but like there are definitely other narrators who I have had more beef with. She's just kind of there for me. But I did love her at one point.
Yeah. I found her rather uninspiring. I will say I did like the way, like, there is no arguing that the voice in this book is strong. Like, you can hear Juliet. Like, the way it's written is very distinct. It's not like every other kind of like first person book. And I liked that how it was written. Like, I literally went a little crazy reading it because her voice was so strong and it got so like in my head. So I think that was really well done. But honestly, she was like a little sane for a crazy person, and I think it could have been pushed a little further. Like, I think this would have been really fun if, especially in the beginning, she just kind of like sobers up really quick after like having been in this like undeniably insane situation for a year or whatever. And then she just is like able to like really easily just fall back into like human society. And although I can't speak from experience, I feel like it would take a little bit longer. So I think it could have been fun to have more of like an unreliable narrator moment where like she's telling us things and then it's revealed that it's not that way, and we kind of like are really on this back foot as like baby girl is going through it, like she's literally insane because of what she's been through, and then that can get healed like through the book. But like it was a little bit like the first couple chapters she was crazy and then she just was rambly instead of crazy, and so it was like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. And since we're on the topic of narration, like, it doesn't really make sense to me how someone with very little education, because right, she went to school with normal kids, but which doesn't really make sense, but then she was in like juvenile detention centers and then she was in this insane asylum. So it's like she learns how to write metaphors fairly well. I mean, some of them are bad, don't get me wrong, but like she learns what a metaphor is somehow, and she learns how to write them, and she can write like coherently for the most part. It's just kind of interesting
Almost
to me. Like I feel like it would have been, yeah, poetically, it would have been more, and I think it would have been more believable if it was like, if from a first person point of view writing in her journal, if there were like misspellings or like, I don't know, something with a little bit more like realism, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Even to the metaphor point, like her metaphors were almost like not dark and twisty enough. Like, and because some of them are bad, but they don't feel like they're bad on purpose. Honestly,
true.
like, I think a lot of them are pretty bad. Like, they sound poetic, but they don't make any sense when you actually look at the words. But I think, again, there's that opportunity to kind of have twisted it so they're bad on purpose. They don't make sense on purpose because her brain doesn't make sense. But I don't think that was the intention. I think the intention is that she's just so artsy and like intellectual and blah blah blah. Like, she doesn't need an education to write this metaphor sort of thing. And I think that's why it falls flat, because it's like, no, she could have been educated. Like, it's not giving.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Or like, if she is gonna write that way, I feel like there should have been some backstory reason why. Like, I don't know, maybe she made a friend, or there was some sort of mentor figure when she was younger. Like, I don't know, that kind of where she got this from. Like, yeah, she wouldn't be writing, you know, her John Green metaphors out of nothing. So like, she had to get some inspo somewhere. But I think that's a really good take though, Maddie, of like, you're right. As much as I like to kind of pick at some of the YA stuff, her voice really is strong. And I think that that's, you know who this character is. And I can't remember if later in the series, if we get other POVs or not. Maybe you remember Kaylee, but if they're this strong, I'd be pretty impressed just by...
You don't get other POVs. What you do get is books from Warner's point of view. So you get a rewrite of these. That's why there's so many books in the series. There's like 10 of them or something. Because you get complete rewrites of the entire book from Warner's POV. I never read those, but I do know that. So.
Oh, okay. Like the Midnight Sun.
I was just going to say this stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Twilight.
Yeah. T. Well, you mentioned her having a friend that she could be influenced by, Abby, but as we know, she only ever had one friend, and it was darling star child Adam. Oh, Adam. He is an 18-year-old... Kaylee wrote boy/man, real. Real and true.
He's a boy man. A man boy.
The man label, let's be real. He basically is someone that Juliet knew from her childhood. He was just like nice, and they had like this weird connection, but they never really talked. And then they meet again later on in life in the cells. He gets thrown into cells with her, and they have like this reconnection. And then it turns out he's actually a soldier for the reestablishment, which like we're back in dystopian YA. So this is like the new order sort of thing. And then when Juliet leaves the cell, he's like her assigned soldier, of course. So they have this moment. They have a good chunk of the book where they just are like, they think the other one doesn't recognize them. And it's like, would y'all just fucking talk to each other? Be FFR for real.
You gotta build tension.
No.
Yeah. Right. They just feel that connection. And okay, remind me, before we talk about him too, I have a plot question. Remember, so why Adam obviously remembers her because he requests to be the put in there with her as part of his. Why does she doesn't remember him at first, right? And then later she's like, oh, I should have blah blah the eyes. So why doesn't she?
Yeah. And she's like, she thinks it's him early on, but she's like, no, it can't be him. And she doesn't really look at him. But then when she finally looks at him head on, she's like, oh shit, this is actually Adam Kent.
Yeah, she's like,
okay, so she just doesn't remember him.
Yeah,
because
and they haven't seen each other in like 10 years or something. So he's probably like a full-grown, almost man now.
He's
and
a boy man. Boy
man. You're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't like Adam. I just didn't. Like, I think I liked him when I first read these books, and I think the intent is that you're supposed to like him, but he's very much an alpha male, like, and he's like so erratic and emotional. Like, when he gets angry, he like can't control himself. Like, he just was like, he's so mean to everyone, and I think this is throughout the books too, but so maybe I'm talking about the second book, but I think he's icky, and he like makes decisions for Juliet all the time instead of letting her make her own decisions. And I get that like she's you know, she's probably a little less mature than other people because she hasn't been exposed to like human relationships and stuff. But like, I don't know. I just don't like how he makes decisions for her. But it's very YA.
Yeah, it is very YA. He also is uninspiring to me. Like, he just kind of seems like a guy. Like, he's just a dude. And they, like he's fine. I don't know. He just doesn't spike any emotion from me. I haven't read the other books, so I don't know, like, how weird he gets. But, like, I don't know. The whole time they're having their little, like, budding romance, I'm like, oh, okay. I guess, oh, okay, it's him? Okay. All right, girl. Like, pop off, I guess. Because the whole thing is, like, predicated on this, like, friendship that they had when they were younger, but they'd never really had, like, a real friendship. Like, I don't know. So he just didn't give anything beyond having nostalgia for me. Like, there's no reason for her to like him, really, except that he's close.
Yeah, he's like literally the first guy to ever touch her or show interest in her. So of course she's gonna like him.
Well, you have to remember he's also tatted up.
You're so right.
You know,
that's my bad.
For anyone who hasn't read the book, they literally write like he's so tatted up or something in the book. Actually, like that. Like,
yeah, you must consider that he's tatted up, Maddie. I mean, like,
and the blue eyes.
It's a blue. Somehow
and
he
brown
has
hair.
Dark hair, blue eyes, tall, and he is, and I quote, tatted up.
But he's got a buzz cut.
Yeah.
He got a buzz cut? Oh, he did.
He's a soldier. But he does grow a beard in the cells, right? I feel like she talks quite a bit about him growing hair. And she's like, he grows hair. I'm like, yeah, he's a boy.
Yeah, so he's a boy.
That's how that fucking works, you dumbass.
He's actually a mammal, so he...
It's actually crazy.
Human being.
You probably have a beard right now, girl. You just don't know.
Yeah, girl. You just can't see it, okay? No, yeah. Not a fan. And I will say, I don't remember because it's been a minute, but I want to say when I initially read it, I also, in rare case, was not a fan. Even though, like, I can't claim a moral high ground here, though, because I did love, like, Gale and stuff. So, you know, like, I'm not a very reputable source on that, but I do think I didn't like Adam from the get-go. So, yeah, I stick to my feelings on that.
He's just like, he doesn't do anything cute, really. Like, I don't know why you would be a fan of him. It's just Juliet telling us that she's a fan of him, and so we're supposed to go along the ride with her, you know? I mean,
which I think that's kind of the point. Like, I think the point is, like, this is the first guy that showed interest in her, right? So she likes him, and that makes sense. And I don't know, we're supposed to have conflicting feelings, I think. Like, I'm spoiler alert. Like, if you don't want spoilers, don't listen to this part. But she obviously ends up with Warner later. And I think we're supposed to have conflicting feelings about Adam. So it makes more sense why she ends up with Warner. And it's like, oh, her first love wasn't her, like, one true love, you know? But still, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It works well for YA. Like,
it does. Yeah. It's giving Disney kind of thing for now, where it's like, you know, they meet the first man. I will say we should give him credit for, like, the one thing he does actively do is, like, when she is deciding what to wear or whatever, she has this, like, classic YA moment where she's like, I am not their doll, I will not wear their clothes, and she goes down or whatever, and he lets her. I mean, he's like, you should probably put on a dress, and she's like, no, and he's like, okay, even though he knows he's gonna get in trouble, and then he gets beaten, I guess, like, pretty bad, but he still doesn't really like tell her. He's like, please put on the dress, but he doesn't necessarily, like, force her to do it or anything. So there's, like, a tiny amount of, like, I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, he's trying his best to, like, tell her what, like, is expected of her, but, like, he didn't seem like he was going to force her to do that. And, like,
true.
I think a lot of other people would have been like, I ain't getting my ass beat again, brother.
Yeah. Like, yeah, he's not disrespectful. He is very respectful.
Yeah. But it sounds like that changes later on, so.
Well, and so we have Juliet, we have Adam. They meet in the cell. Or, well, they don't meet in the cell. They met earlier, but they reconnect in the romantic space that is this cell. And so they have this relationship spark because Adam, like we said, is the only one that can touch her that we know of so far without consequences. And yeah, so in terms of their actual relationship,
they make out.
They make out. They make out a lot.
Constantly.
Which we were kind of talking about this earlier, but we were like, I feel the need to kind of skim these scenes as a 20-something because I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's been a while since, you know, I'm like, this is the YA side of things, and I feel weird reading about these teenagers making out, but they do make out quite a lot. Yeah.
It also feels very like, I'm like, this is the edge of YA. Like, their makeout sessions are not like, he kissed and like, they're, you know, my heart soared, and you know, like they're pretty lusty. And so I'm like, oh, like, this is really the boundary of YA, especially at this time where it was like you didn't have a ton of that in like mainstream books, and I was like, oh, okay, they're down bad for each other. They're down bad for anybody, I guess. Really,
true.
They've had their sights set on each other for so many years. They never spoke to each other. They had this thing where it was like, because everyone like thought Juliet was weird, and she was. But like he was nice to her, and like he would defend her from other kids, but like he never spoke to her, which I just find frankly bizarre that they never spoke to each other, but whatever. And then I don't know, they just like have always thought of, it's really giving like me at the ripe age of like 17 still thinking about like my crush in kindergarten, shout out Kyle Demencio, like if I really thought about him every day still, which obviously I still know his name, so maybe that sounds weird, but like,
not the full name drop. Look up Kyle.
But like the FFR for reals, like I don't think about that kid, you know, like get over it.
Yeah,
I don't know, dude. I don't know
my much human reaction, and that was the only guy that was like ever showed any inch of like kindness towards her. Excuse? You know,
he was normal.
Well, his excuse is that I don't think he's actually like in love with Juliet or ever has been. I think that he's just obsessed with like her, just like everyone else. He's obsessed with this person that has these like special abilities that no one else has, and it's like interest, it's curiosity, and it's not.
Okay, not like and he does also, I put in my notes, trauma bonding ? Because he does, they do give a little bit of his backstory, and it's obviously very different, but there's implications that like his dad was abusive and stuff like this. So not that's why I put trauma bonding, because I'm like, that doesn't really give us a good foundation for anything, but it is kind of implied that he like was kind of an outcast in his own way, and then she was also in a different way. But
I really like the setup of
beyond
them
that.
Having traumatic childhoods and finding each other and sticking up for each other. But it literally was like chapters and chapters before it was revealed that they had never even spoken to each other. And that's what bothers me, is like, I just don't even think that's realistic for children. Like, and also I hated when he was like, yeah, the day that you got taken away, that was the day I was finally going to talk to you. Shut up and go kick rocks. Like, that is so
that
stupid.
annoyed me
You thought
too.
that every day. Be silent.
Yeah. Like if they had talked, I think again, that would be a good setup if they had actually talked, but because they didn't, it was kind of like, I don't know. And he always talks about her, like, one thing that did always kind of make me roll my eyes a little bit was him talking about her being good. He would just always talk about her like goodness. I'm like, what is? But to be fair, again, she good. Let her be a bad girl. No, but for YA, I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's fair. She makes him happy. Because she's good. So like that's fine. That's YA.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's fair.
You guys want to know something interesting that's in book 2 that they reveal, since you guys aren't going to read it? Okay, spoiler again, don't listen to this if you don't want to hear it, but it actually changes your mindset about a lot of their relationship. That when I told you guys earlier about, so basically like he has this gift where he can disable people's powers around him, but it's only if he's like, if it's a defense mechanism, like he's like kind of afraid of them. So the whole time he's with her and like they make out and stuff, when he's turning off her powers, he has to be like defending himself against her. Like he's kind of scared of her.
Scared.
Yeah, so he's like always been kind of like afraid of her. So that's kind of interesting.
Wait, that's actually kind of
I'd bring that up.
I kind of like that.
That's kind of a fun dynamic for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That adds another layer there.
Yeah,
that makes it more better than just like.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a fun reveal, though. Well, and this series is like, okay, so we were talking about it earlier, and Kayla, you said that there are books that are in Warner's perspective later on. It's like the same story, but through his perspective. Do you know how many books long, roughly, like, the series itself is? Just like...
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 books.
Because it's kind of a long game, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's a long game. Yeah. They grow up. Everyone grows up.
Yeah.
And
they grow up.
Gotcha.
They grow up.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Abby. What were you going to say?
No. I was just saying that's like a fun little aside. Is I was like, I can see that. That's a cool thread to develop over time. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Okay. Well, now let's talk about the other male of this story.
Other man, because it's YA.
It's YA. And he's barely a man, okay? Warner. So Warner is 19 years old, okay? So he's a man now. I don't know. Right. He's a boy. He's still a boy. He is the leader of the reestablishment, which is basically like the military regime of this country that they live in. And Warner has basically been obsessed with getting Juliet to join the reestablishment for a very long time. So he's been, which is weird because he's only 19 and they say he's been like watching her forever. So I just thought of that. It's like, were you like 15 when you became the leader of the reestablishment? But anyway, besides the point. So he's basically your typical villain, right? He's like extremely obsessed with Juliet and like controlling her and getting her to be evil with him. Personally, because I've read the rest of the series, like, I feel a little bit differently about Warner than how I'm supposed to, but in this first book, he gave me the ick, okay? Like, I had major ick because of how obsessed with Juliet he comes off, and, like, it's gross. It's just, it's almost irredeemable. Like, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it says. Oh, go ahead, Queen.
I was just gonna say, I feel similarly. I was into Warner when he first showed up. I like the setup of like he has to do what needs to be done. He's a little bit like more violent than like he should be, but he's got to make a point because that's how you control the army. They have to fear you. Blah, blah, blah. I like this kind of like morally gray sort of vibe. But, like, bro is so down bad. It gave me the ick. Like, he's so desperate. I don't understand why he's obsessed with Juliet. Like, I get that her power is crazy, but it also seems severely limited to me because it has to be through touch. And he's like, we're going to use you in the war. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Like, drop her from a helicopter and then she's just going to, like, land on someone and suck up their power and then get immediately killed by everyone else? Like, I don't see the vision that he has for her.
True.
And I'm sure he has one, but I don't understand like the impetus of the book of like why he chose this time after she's been cooking in a cell for a year, and then he like sees her and thank God she's so hot. She's like the most beautiful girl in the world. Like, but she's so, I don't know. But I liked Warner until he just was like so down bad. I was like, bro, you played all your cards. Like, you gotta be a bad boy. You're not a bad boy if you're this down bad for a girl that doesn't even like you.
Low-key, the timing is probably just because she's almost 18.
Oh, no, he was grooming her.
Okay, he's only 19.
Warner is a groomer, confirmed.
Fucking creep.
A minor. Somebody get Kendrick on the line, bro. It's over for Warner. Warner's cancer.
It's over. Damn. Well... I'm gonna follow it up with saying I don't know what it says about me that at 15 I found it kind of.
I did too at 15 because it's like, ooh, an older man. You know, like
yeah, and like, and not in the okay. I think here's the difference of the logic in my head, even at 15. Okay, because I feel like even back then I still liked a man to to work for it a bit, right? Like I don't want him to be desperate. Okay. However, I think the distinction that I made here is like he is, I wouldn't classify as like desperate because he's already powerful himself, and he also like tries to show her in a very YA sense her own power, right? Like he obviously wants to use her as a weapon and stuff, and like he's into her, but he also like is kind of encouraging on that behavior because he wants her to embrace like her power, right? So I think at the time I wasn't like, oh, he's desperate. Like he kind of is. It's a little, he's kind of like falling on his face a bit, but at the same time there is a bit of a distinction where he's already powerful himself as the villain. I feel like, and he's kind of trying to bring that power out of her a little bit. So yeah, I think, you know, comparing him to Adam, and I know we're supposed to like Adam in the first book too, but just more personality, the ambition. He wants Juliet to use her powers instead of concealing them, blah blah. Like I liked all that, and I still kind of do. I still kind of do, low key.
I'm with you, Abby, because I really liked the vibes of like the scene where he was like, I'll do whatever for you, but like you have to touch me or something like that, and he's like so unscared and like challenging her and like pushing her. The torture scenes is another discussion, but like that kind of particular angle that he was taking, I liked that. And you guys know from our familiar episode, like I'm into like a mentor mentee sort of like you know, we're getting training, things are cooking and like bubbling sort of thing. I didn't really get the ick for him until the second like the time that he tries to go take Juliet back from like when they escape, whatever later, but like that scene, he's just so down bad, and that's really when I was like, oh, you ain't what I thought you were, brother.
Okay, I did say though, I like I think I put in one of my favorite parts, the part where she pulls a gun on him, just because it's very like but I am surprised that they had the like that whole make out ish scene in book one. I'm like, that we could have let that one stew a little bit more. We could have let that one cook a little bit more later on. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Warner. That's my thoughts.
Warner.
So Juliet basically is she's brought out of the cells by Warner to be used like as a weapon, whatever, and forced to join the reestablishment, which is like the new order. And as we've alluded to, Warner kind of like forces Juliet to cooperate with him. He punishes her by making her touch people and almost killing them or killing them. And she's like, oh, I'm good. This is horrible for me. I don't want to do this. And that's like her punishment. But yeah, he tries to push her into like using her power more so they can understand it and she can potentially control it at some point. And she just really is like not vibing with any of it, which is understandable. She really has grown to like hate her power. So the fact that he pushes her to use her power, she thusly hates him. She does have like a couple moments where she feels sympathetic towards him during this time, and she's like, he's not so bad maybe, but then like the next scene she's like post makeout session with Adam, she's like, never mind, I hate him, Warner can die. And you're like, oh, okay, we're back on this.
Back to Team Adam.
I liked the reestablishment part of the book, and I think I really liked it when I first read it too, because it's like partially just because like she's in this big, like, not castle, but she's been this big fancy building, and like she has this big fancy room, and it's like, I think I liked it more when I was 15 because I was like, isn't this every 17-year-old girl's dream? Like being captured by this handsome 19-year-old. But this time I liked it for a little bit of different reasons. Like I liked the inner conflict that we saw with Juliet, and like the torture scene, like as terrible as that is, like, because basically what happens is she's in a room and there are these spikes that come up from the ground, and there's this toddler who's blindfolded, and the toddler's gonna like die if it goes over these spikes, right? So in order to save the toddler, she has to pick up the toddler, and it's really gruesome,
I hate
to
to
think
say
about.
it, but he kind of ate with that. Like,
Yeah,
homegirl
it's
was
good
in,
torture.
was
It's a good
literally
idea
between a
for
rock and a
torture.
hard place. Like, he ate her up.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
True. Yeah. My only gripe with that scene, I like that one a lot too, but it's very specific, but like a torture chamber in post-apocalyptic society in this otherwise like rich place. I feel like I'm like spikes on the floor. I'm like it's giving a little bit of like a witch hunt. This is old school. Okay.
It's old
Like
tech.
I would have loved a Divergent-esque serum or some sort of shit that I don't know. It's just something that, because the only thing I felt like that was a little random, and then she like gets so angry that she like punches through the wall, which is a cool way to show
I
that.
forgot about that.
I forgot about that too.
It's
so
so
dumb.
dumb.
I'm sorry.
Bro.
It's so
It is.
stupid.
It's cool
Oh.
to show that she can do other stuff, but it was giving Hulk. Like, it was a little cringe, like when she was just like, "Fuck you," basically. Like,
She
it's just like
Superman's
bursting through this
up
wall.
to the window, and then
Yeah.
we don't talk about it for like 20 chapters.
And it's not very detailed either, because you're like, is this like a metaphor? Is this happening
No.
in real life? It's
Right.
like really bizarre.
They're
and
literally just
random.
like talk about her just going through the wall, and Warner being like,
She's
just-
so hot.
his jaw on the floor. Like, did you just? Damn.
Why is she?
So yeah, those are my. Why is she kinda? So those are my two icks with that scene. Otherwise, I love it. I think that that's a great way to torture her, and also to be like, "Hey, bitch! Like, you can play goody two shoes all you want, but
You kind
you're
of
still
like
a weapon.
Power.
So,
Yeah.
and you kind of like the power too.
Mhm.
So, I like that scene. I just wish that she maybe showed her Hulk powers in a different way.
Yeah, and I honestly,
but-
I wish there was more of that where she got pushed to use her powers. Like,
Yes.
more of like
Yeah.
every day there should be a time where he's putting her through some kind of like obstacle course. Like, in his perspective, she is the weapon that he needs to like to succeed in like his goals. So like, why is he just letting her sit up in her room? He takes out the cameras. Why is he so stupid and he doesn't know that Adam and Juliet are banging a ring and up there?
I think he knows. Well, because he doesn't know that he can touch her. But
like, BFFR for real. She was way too happy. The cameras was such a specific. I can't. Anyways, why is he just letting her sit up there and drink tea all day instead of like putting her through like
yeah,
obstacle courses and training?
Yeah.
And like especially after she punches the wall, window, whatever, there's more that she can do. Why are like, I would literally go insane. I would be like, oh, we're finding out every ounce of your power.
Yeah.
honestly, like this book, even for YA, I liked how short it was, but it also felt really rushed at parts. I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Like,
yeah.
like she meets Warner like within 100 pages of the book, like it's a
Yeah.
very quick build up, and then she's in the reestablishment for like, I want to say like 100 pages. It's not very long, and these pages are like, I think you guys also read hard copies, so there's not very many words on each page, so it's like half of the word count that would be in a 350 page book. So it's actually probably like 150 to 200 pages.
It's like a novella.
So this book is very short for all the things that happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And that's something I have in my. Oh, sorry. All I was gonna say is like something I was gonna talk about when we get to like the end spoilers. Just that I think all the stuff that happens, and the like Omega points, which we'll explain in a minute. All of that should have been moved to like book 2.
True.
Like, I feel like we could have had a Twilight. This is, again, if we're going the YA formula, we have a Breaking Dawn part 2 moment in the movie, okay, where her eyes fucking open. We could have done that shit here, okay? She gets knocked out on the battlefield, whatever the fuck, wherever they're fighting. Boom, wakes up in the Omega point, okay? Like, and then they have to do all that because we needed more build up here. But yeah,
More tension.
Mm-hmm.
agreed.
Totally agree.
Sorry, Maddie, I interrupted you before that. Did you have any tea to spill on that?
I was just going to say, if this was written today, this would definitely be like a full like 400-page book. Like, I think there's probably, it's very much like a product of the time, I think, when people wanted like these, short, quick, quippy books. Or maybe this is just her writing style. I don't know. But I just know the authors of today would like cook on this for twice as long, and it would probably, we would be here saying like it got boring.
True.
Because they just
yeah, that's
keep
true.
writing. There's no such thing as a short fantasy anymore these days. Like, the girlies do not know how to wrap it up.
No.
So
no,
that's true. This is maybe a nice little reprieve. Yeah.
Yeah.
You make a good point. I should be grateful.
No, we can still hate on it. It's
so
okay. We hate on both.
So talking about things moving fast. So we have some time at the reestablishment headquarters, for lack of a better term. But then eventually Juliet and Adam form an escape plan, and yeah, they escape. So in the process of escaping, Juliet and Warner find out that Warner can also touch Juliet without consequence, because he like tries to grab her foot as she's leaving. So yeah, coincidence. The two love interests or potential love interests can touch her. Crazy. So after they escape, Adam takes Juliet to his home in an abandoned area nearby, where he introduces her to his little brother, James. And then Kenji, who is another soldier that was part of the reestablishment, ends up joining them too. So we have like a crew at Adam's old house. I liked the moment of the initial escape, like the scene where there's basically a false alarm, and so all the soldiers are leaving and stuff, and so there's like this tense moment between Juliet and Adam and Warner, and Juliet and Adam are still able to escape because Adam can catch her if she like jumps out this window as they planned, and Warner doesn't think that he can do that, and he's like, oh my god, he can touch you. Like he's like screaming like, Juliet. After he just Juliet, after he just came in the room too and saw like they talked about like the bed sheets like being kind of crumpled and like her dress is all messed up, and he's like, did you take a nap?
I forgot about that.
It's actually so funny, bro.
He knows what happened there.
Accept it.
Yeah, did you take a nap? And she's like, yeah, sleepy. So I'm just tired. So yeah, I like the initial escape scene. The fact that like Adam's house is nearby and his younger brother is there and stuff. Like I do like the character of James, and I like Kenji, but it is very, again, random. But I think it's because the book is so short, so just a lot of things happen.
There are a lot of like really convenient coincidences that happen in quick succession here, and it's like I don't necessarily have beef with like them on an individual level, but like when we to invent the narrative that all the soldiers have trackers on them, just to say like that exists, but I can walk through a radiation field and it neutralizes my tracker. I'm like, like you just invented something for it to immediately not matter. Like
it canceled out.
I don't care. Like I literally don't care. It's so annoying that Adam, like, and I get why with the reveal of his power that we know about later or whatever, but like it's just so annoying to me that he can do all this stuff that works out just so for them to like go. And I don't know, it sounds annoying to say because like that's a book, baby girl, like welcome to the world, but like it's just a little too convenient that he has like a tank. They again, we invent this story that he has a tank that he's set up all these months ago. He did this thing to like convince Warner that the tank was down and nobody went and checked. Like it's just so much. And I did like the scene with James and like how they have like kind of a pretend house moment.
Yeah.
They get to like be a family or whatever. I did think that was cute. But then like Kenji showing up and him and Adam having never discussed both being part of like the resistance or whatever, and Kenji like knows the place that they have to. I'm like, be FFR for reals right now. Like this is fucking crazy that this is happening. I don't know. It was a little much for me.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Like, I think it's all very convenient. But that's YA. I mean, every YA book, for the most part, that I've read is like that. Because, like, conflict doesn't have high stakes in YA. Like, it's kind of like how Adam, this annoyed me, but whenever he shoots people, he like clarifies, like, I'm just shooting to disable them. I'm not shooting to kill. I'm like, of course, because it's YA. I would have thought nothing else, you know?
I dare to assume.
It's like that.
Yeah. Right. It's totally not war and the end of the world, and we totally keep our morals about us. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that maybe if like the whole Omega Point stuff was cut, we'd have a little bit more time to maybe build up Kenji and like Adam's dynamic, maybe. And because I think there's a reference to Kenji earlier on, right? Like there is a moment, named. Yeah, but he is named.
Yeah. They like joke around a little bit.
Yeah, but if we could just build that up a little bit more, and then maybe we get to this escape. It's just a little less like, because the other thing too about the radiation, I'm like, so even if your tracker doesn't work, I'm like, did I miss something? Like, it is radiation.
Yeah, right. Yes, correct. Juliet is not immune to radiation. Even if Adam has a special pick-me power where he's immune to radiation, like, she is not.
But I think they of course had conveniently explained that she is immune to it. Like he's like warned or tested you for radiation or exposure. I don't know, something like that. And
that's true. It was I remember what you're talking about.
It's so
of course
dumb.
Because it's so convenient.
Because like it's like the first time that radiation is even mentioned. So it's like there's like a saying that's in a story you have to establish anything that's different about this world from the like current world early on so that you aren't just tossing things in later that seem really random. And so like it's implied that the world is a wasteland, but I don't know that we actually get a radiation unlock until we're in a radiation field. And then it's like, oh, I didn't even know we had to be stressed about this. Like it's
okay. Right. I was like, oh shit.
Adding that lore, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did like the scene where they're like, they like leave the house or whatever, and then they get caught by the reestablishment people, and like Adam gets separated, and then he's like on like a, they like hang him up, and they're like sending him to. I don't know. I imagined like a meat grinder. I don't know if this is in like factual thing. It was kind of vaguely described, but I was like, this is kind of horrific for YA, honestly. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, he's like, they have him like hanging by his wrists, and they talk about like, I think I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like a warehouse in there, like a little and like kind of like a conveyor belt type thing or some sort. Yeah. No, it is. It's kind of. It's a little creepy gritty. For YA. I'll give him that.
Gritty.
Yeah.
And she gets to use her punchy power again, which is fun. So she's like, "Oh, I'll simply punch the door."
Hulk bad. Hulk angry.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, speaking of her powers, so Kenji, of course, knows where the resistance is located, so he takes them to Omega Point. To the home of the Incredibles. And this is actually the Resistance. And everybody has powers. Superpowers. And yeah, it's as ridiculous as it sounds. Like, I hated this part of the book 10 years ago, and I hated it this time. It's so random. It is so random, and everything's just like has a little bow on it. It's so perfect and happily ever after-esque. And I just don't like it.
Yeah. When they gave her the super suit, it was like over for me. I was like, we cannot be having a fitting for like a custom, like someone get Marvel on the line. Their IP has been stolen. Like, this is so I couldn't take anything seriously after that point. It was also I couldn't. I was logged off.
Well, and again, I think I'd have to go back and read book 2 to kind of remember like how we kind of transitioned from book 1 into book 2, because I think if this had been kind of built out a little bit more, I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with it. You know, it was just very like rushed into like, oh, here are the Incredibles, like here are the superheroes. But
yeah, I did like that the reveal. I guess I regret saying these words already. I did like that she had a moment where she was like, oh my god, it's not just me, like other people have powers, because no, it's not just you, bitch.
Yeah,
You're not that special. So I liked the reveal that there was like a secret superpower community, but I'm also a little confused about how that could be a secret in this world, like how there wouldn't be more people that the reestablishment was using as weapons, unless I'm just forgetting and they explained why they don't want to use the people with superpowers.
they go into it in the second book. Basically, it's not a secret. Like, everyone kind of knows about it, but it's like a big myth. Like, they're like, this can't be true. Like, there can't be this many people that have like these superpowers, basically. But like, Warner knows about it, so people do know about it in the military.
I don't know. It just seems like weird to me that this wouldn't be more used if it's as common as it seems.
Yeah,
like it just,
for sure.
I don't know. It would make more sense if there was like in Six of Crows, right? You have the Fjordans who like they think it's witchcraft because of their religion, and so they shun it, and so they don't use it until they do. But like that makes more sense to me as a reason. Like if the king or something like just had a personal vendetta against people with superpowers, and so he was like, we can't use these, and Warren was like, Warden, what's his? I already forgot. Warner. Oh my
Warner.
God. And Warner was like, actually, Dad, I think this is the way. And then that was like more of a dynamic, but instead it's just like the people with superpowers live underground, and you're like, word. So
well,
true.
It could be though, because they don't want them to, Avengers assemble, which they're doing anyway, underground. But it might just be because they don't want to, like, if you individually think that you're a freak and you're a weirdo, maybe you won't try to, you'll just think it, you'll think
That's
it's
a good
just
point.
me.
Yeah, I could
You'll think it's
accept
just
this
me, like
headcanon.
Juliet. Yeah. And meanwhile, they are in fact assembling in the bunker, but
They do be assembling.
yeah. But
I really want Juliet to
We'll
not
see.
be the most powerful one. I know that's impossible to hope for, but I really wanted Baby Girl to go down there and then be like, actually, you're like, I don't know, rank 5 on our list of like cool superpowers. Like,
Yeah.
we're happy you're here, but honestly, like, we have someone that can resurrect someone from the dead, so
yeah.
mid.
So like, yeah.
Just
On the
humble
bench.
her.
Giving Twilight.
Yeah, but then she's like, but did you know I can punch walls? And they're like, whoa, hold on. Nobody told us that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, YA. I love you, YA.
Mm-hmm.
Forever.
Okay.
We stand. Okay. Anyways, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the pod. Our hot takes and our pour overs. I'll start. Mine are kind of mid. I just was not invested enough to have good hot takes and pour overs. But hot take, if you read hard copy of this book, we may have mentioned this already, there's a strike through Juliet does constantly where she like has a thought and then she corrects it. I respect the intention of this, but she starts using it in actual dialogue that she's saying to another human being within the scene. And the strike through is one of the biggest sins I've bore witness to. And honestly, the author should be sent straight to jail with no parole, because what a disgusting, wretched thing to do in a book. I've never been so offended, frankly, about something in a writing style. I hated every second of it. There are ways to handle this that's like so much more graceful. In a journal, sure, give me a strike through because I'm actually writing on paper. When you're narrating to me your inner voice, if you dare strike through, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might punch a wall. It's over. Like the fact I can't. I could not get past it. It was so cringe for me. It was unbearable to read. It made it hard to read what even was in the strike through. So I'm like, I don't even know what's going on in Juliet's head. I couldn't.
That is true. I had a hard time like actually reading what I was supposed to be reading there, which, yeah,
Unreasonably
not fun,
angry.
But
I think the way you said it, it was a hot take, not a lukewarm take, by the way.
that was a hot.
I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'll
That was
take it.
spicy. Spicy take.
I'll take it.
Spicy take.
I agree.
Thank you for your support, ladies. For my pour over, I just want to know why Warner was so down bad. Like, Homeboy has never seen a woman before. I can kind of get why Juliet is so down bad. Like, she's been alone in a cell through puberty. Like, I guess things could get a little crazy or whatever. But, like, why is Warner so down bad? My man, you surely have girly pops around. I can't imagine. Juliet's so stunning. She's just all rough edges. I don't know, I guess. But, like, stop. Why'd you ruin Warner's character by making him so down bad? That's what I'm thinking about.
Dude, that was my pour over too.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Like, I completely agree. Like, he is so icky. Why? If he, spoiler, if he is the main love interest of the series, why make him so icky?
Yeah.
Why not make him maybe a little teeny tiny bit icky, but you're like, okay, he's still hot. But in this book, it's like, ew.
It's too much.
I know Abby might feel it differently because
I do.
She's still tapped into her 15-year-old brain.
and within 15-year-old brain, there is PETA, which is one type of blonde man, and then there is Warner, which is the other type of blonde man.
Oh, yes.
Please.
There are two blonde men with rights, and it is PETA and it is Warner. But anyway, yeah.
Fair.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's it. That's a soapbox. It's just
Kaylee, what's your... Okay, sorry, I interrupted. Kaylee, what's your hot take, though?
Mine isn't good. It's not a good hot take. I've already kind of said it. I think Kenji and James are the only likable characters in this book, period.
No, that's real. I want her to fall in love with Kenji.
That's real.
I love Kenji.
To be fair, Kenji was really down bad for Juliet in a way that was literally disrespectful to Adam, but also I found it endearing. I was like, damn.
It was funny.
Homeboy
He
shot his shot every single scene.
He does
every
it in
single
the second
time.
book too.
Yeah. He's literally...
I did love that.
Yeah, I'm here for the Kenji arc. I don't know what book that hits.
I'm gonna look at the fan art for Kenji because I think Kenji is hot.
Those are some of the only characters that are also like... Well, no, I take this back. I was gonna say those.
He's also Asian.
Two of them are definitely like YA coded for sure. Like they actually feel an appropriate age. But I guess the rest of the characters do to me too, though, because Adam's a whole lot of teenage nothing. Juliet is a Tumblr girl, and Warner is
he's edgy boy. He's edgy teen.
Yeah, he's just like a rich.
That makes sense. Yeah, he is giving like country club.
Yeah, it's just like country club white boy, you know?
Yeah.
Kenji's super hot, by the way. His fan art for a teenager, let me clarify. For a teenager.
If I was 15, I would find Kenji to be
disclaimer. Yes. disclaimer, yes.
He's
yes.
Teenager.
No, you're valid.
Oh man. Yeah, what's my... Let's see.
Go ahead, Abby. Lay it on us.
My hot take is that Adam sucks. I can't even give him the designation of like a himbo because he's kind of an asshole, but I'm sure the whole like tatted up thing was cool for when I was 15. But I mean sucks as in just like I don't like him as a person. He's a well-written like YA character, don't get me wrong. Like I think that he is for a YA guy. I think he does what he needs to do. He checks off the boxes for like a YA boy.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that us adjusting the standard because it's YA is fair to YA? Does that then imply that there's no truly well-written YA? Because I think we should not excuse an underdeveloped character just because it's YA. Like, I think,
Okay, yeah. I should... Okay, let me rephrase. I don't necessarily mean that he's, like, the standard for YA. I mean more, like, in my head, when I talk about YA, I talk about, like, the 2010s peak YA. So in my head, I'm saying, like, I think he fits the YA, that era of YA. No, I think that I am not here to dunk on YA. I'm totally cool with YA. We read Six of Crows for our last episode, and genuinely, like, absolutely floored by that writing. So I am not shitting on YA. I think he fits that particular era. So yeah, good clarification. I don't mean to don't mean to dunk on YA.
But I would kind of disagree because I don't think, I'm not with what you said, Ivy, but I don't think characters need to be as developed in YA because because they're targeted for like 12 to 17-year-olds. And when you're in that age group, typically you don't like, I don't know how to explain this nicely. Your brain isn't as developed, right? So your emotions aren't as mature, that sort of thing. So when you're reading like similar vibes and like underdeveloped characters and stuff, like you relate to it more, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think it has to be as like well written.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's no well written YA, I just don't think it has to be.
Yeah, no, I'm genuinely asking. Like, I'm also asking myself this because it's like, even when we talk about Six of Crows, we're like, oh, this really should have been like new adult. But we're saying that just because like the characters have more depth. But I think there's a world in which YA, the characters should have depth. It just may not. I almost feel like it's a grittiness thing. Like, they should still have depth, but it shouldn't be like as sensitive of topics. And maybe that's like where we're getting at, but like I don't think it should just be like two-dimensional characters always, you know.
Well, I will say though, I think I think there is a degree of depth for this one for YA. Like, again, on a like YA, that era, that scale. I joke about all the like, oh, I would have reblogged this on Tumblr and stuff, but like they're truly trying to, I think, have a more poetic voice at times. I think like we get some of Adam's backstory, and like he clearly has some like family trauma and stuff like that they kind of, you know, mention. So I do think there's some depth there they try to bring in for those characters. I think it's not only depth, but just like clarity and decision making and stuff like that. So like for Six of Crows, I think that might be more of a new adult for me, just because it's like, their decision making abilities.
It's more mature,
and they're more nuanced. Yeah, so I think that's probably what does it for me. But it's a fun rabbit hole.
I agree. In this book, I will say that I think some of it, not the underdevelopment, but like the decision making and stuff is intentional because they do grow up throughout the books, and the books do get more mature.
Yeah, they did feel very teen to me, which I think is hard to do.
Yeah, and she's a Tahara. I think that's how you say it. Tahara is very. She's actually a very good writer. Like it may not seem like it in this book, but I think a lot of it is intentional. Not as much with the metaphors and stuff. Maybe that's just not her writing style, and maybe it was like outside of her comfort zone type of thing. That's my guess. But she's a good writer.
Yeah.
And I remember loving the full series, and I actually am planning on like rereading these two. I have the audiobooks, so I think I'm gonna give it a listen to. But no, I think that's a great point. Like if it builds throughout the series, I think that is a sign of a good writer. So
yeah.
To you.
Same. Sorry for turning into a philosophy discussion, Abby.
No, sorry. Yeah, we went on a random deep dive there.
We sure did.
All right, so before we go, let's do our ratings and favorite parts. My rating is a 2.9 out of 5, currently as an adult reading it. It was a 5 out of 5 previously. And then my favorite part is actually the super suits. Just kidding.
Okay. Okay.
Just kidding.
Okay.
It's actually when we find out that Warner can touch Juliet. I thought that was kind of cool, I guess. I don't really have a favorite part, but if I had to pick one.
Slay. Yeah, my rating, I put a 3 of 5 that has like a +1 curve for like, this book is not written for me. You know, like I'm not the target audience. For me, like today, it's probably a 2 of 5 because I think there was some fun stuff in there, but like I am not going to be pursuing the end of the story. Yeah, for favorite part, I did like that part, Kaylee. I realized I forgot about the toddler torture part, so that was probably my favorite part because I was like, ooh, a little saucy. But honorary mention to the like 5-paragraph rant that Juliet goes on about people who put toddlers in those little like monkey backpacks and like hold on to the tails to not lose the toddlers. That was crazy. Homegirl was pissed about child's rights at that moment, and I felt my soul leave my body because I was like, I can't be reading this. This is not real. So yeah, honorary mention to that part. I don't know
ahead of her time,
but she was in.
Yeah, if you put your kid on a leash in the supermarket, watch out. Don't let anyone.
A girl will kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, watch your back.
Crazy.
Oh my god. So for rating, at this current moment, maybe a 2.5 out of 5, a 3. No, yeah, it's a fun read. I definitely gave this a solid 4+ back when I read it initially. And yeah, I do think I'm gonna listen to the audiobook though, because I remember that this series was a banger. It was great. I remember being in love with Warner. It's been a minute, so I can't remember why, but I'm gonna find out. Yeah, favorite part, maybe when Juliet pulls the gun on Warner. I know the rest of the scene is cringe, and we have to kind of, again, like I was kind of like skimming it. I was like, okay, let me not read this moment between these teenagers. But when she just kind of like, yeah,
she gets him.
Kind of like, yeah, that was kind of
in the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Shoots him in the arm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then
which is an interesting choice, but yeah, and he has a sling. He's like, what?
It's a shame that she shot him in the arm and his legs don't work to go after her.
There's supposed to be like this really intimidating moment where like he's back, like, or like, you know, he's there and he's just in a sling, and all I can imagine is like that kind of like blue like sling that you get just from the doctors, and he's wearing like this super crazy outfit in this post world, and yeah. Anyway, that's it for me.
Crazy.
I'll shut up now.
All right. Well, if everyone has said their piece, that is all the tea that we have on Shatter Me. Next time, we're reading Abby's favorite YA book, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Very hyped about that one. I've never read it, but I've heard so much about it. So another notch to add to my belt. You can also stay up to date with the latest tea on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube by following us at Spill the Novel Tea on all of the things. And while you're there, let us know, does this book live up to the hype for you? We've noticed a Shatter Me resurgence. Is that you? Or is that why you're here? Why do you love this book? Why is it in 2024? What is it about Shatter Me that's bringing it back up? We are excited to hear from you and what your thoughts are on, were you inspired by Adam? There's those girls out there. I know they exist. Surely.
Tat it up.
That's right. Tat it up. Sold from page 1, honestly. Okay, we will see you next time.